another disaster of a football game that we're going to break down. And when Barrett Brooks and Eitan Shander are out, you bring in the big guns. It's like going to the bullpen and pulling in Max Scherzer in the ninth inning to secure your way to the NLCS. Dan Sileo, welcome to the show, man. I love talking football with you. I can't wait to break this down over the next hour.
Absolutely, Harry. It's an honor to be here with you, man. One of my favorite radio people in a very limited, talented city of Philadelphia. When it comes to radio, folks, you're clearly one of my favorites, along with the king himself, Tony Bruno. That thing last night, I'll just here. I know everybody wants to aim that thing at Sirianni, and there is a lot of blame to go around with that game plan. But, Harry, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a comparison to Jalen Hurts and who and I think it's always easy for people when you put someone out there to put a comparison to. Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is Tyrod Taylor. And I think that's who he's going to be. I think that's what he is. And by the way, Tyrod Taylor went to a Pro Bowl.
Right.
He's not a bad football player, but he's limited in what he can do skill set wise. So that's going to limit the playbook. That's going to limit the amount of plays and type of plays that they're going to run. I mean, getting him under center, he looks like out of place when he gets under center. That's why they do a lot of that RPO stuff. So, Again, I'm not really sure what people are going to expect, and I don't know what they expected. It's 10 starts in his career, and I don't know, Harry. I mean, look, they played hard. You don't get merit badges in the NFL. This is not like, one of those kind of things where you go like this. Here's a commemorative trophy for playing hard. You're in the NFL.
No, you're right. And, I looked at this season. I had, low, limited expectations myself. I was thinking 6 wins, maybe 7 wins. And, basically I determined it kind of a look-see type of season. We're going to look and see if we have a quarterback in Jalen Hurts that's worth moving forward with, or if we're going to have to scrap that and go with, an established veteran, trade some of these draft picks, or get somebody in the draft and try to develop him. And then the other thing was I didn't know anything about Nick Sirianni. I mean, this guy never called a play in his life at this level. So we were going to find out an awful lot about him. But now, the narrative is changing through 5, through 6 games where they're 2-4. And now it's being called or termed a marriage of convenience or inconvenience. Correct. And it might need to part ways. In other words, Sirianni right now might not be the coach for Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts is probably not the quarterback for Nick Sirianni. So we're on the way to saying that, through 6-7 weeks, it's probably not going to work. And Jalen Hurts will end up being the fall guy and move on to some other team, and maybe he becomes Tyrod Taylor at some point. But that still leaves me wondering whether Nick Sirianni is worth holding on to, because I don't know really anything more about him than I did in July.
Absolutely. Harry, here's something else to think about, too. Last year, who did he call plays for? He called plays for a guy like Phillip Rivers, which is a traditional drop-back 7-step guy.
Right.
So getting a quarterback that is in an RPO scenario, to me, I don't think that fits his skill set. He was also the wide receiver coach in San Diego when the Chargers were in San Diego for Frank Reich. He was down there. So his pedigree is more of the traditional drop-back guy. I'm going to give you a great example of why I think it's less about Nick Sirianni and more about what you're talking about, the marriage matchup here. Okay, so look at Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland for a second. Kevin Stefanski last week against the Chargers. This guy's got 2 minutes left in a football game. What does he do on third down? You got to get a score. You got to get a win. What do? They run the ball because they don't believe in Baker Mayfield.
Right.
They don't want the ball in his hands late in games because they know they can't throw him out of trouble. So what does he do? He's limited in play calling because of the quarterback that he has. On the other hand, take a look at Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians' first year in Tampa, he's got Jameis Winston there, 7-9. Winston's got 30 interceptions. He's got 30 turnovers. This guy's a turnover machine. Brady comes in. All of a sudden, Bruce Arians is a better quarterback coach along with Byron Leftwich there. Of course not. He had also, too, in Pittsburgh, he had Roethlisberger. Then he had Andrew Luck. All those guys see the game. They manage the entire field. When you're looking at a guy like Jalen, he's looking at half the field. He's a one-read guy. And my friend Brian Baldinger said that. He was at the camp when they were having training camp, Harry. It was the Patriots and the Eagles.
Oh, yeah,
the
practice, joint practice. Yeah.
He goes, dude, he's a one-read guy, man. If he doesn't see it right away, he's taking off or he's moving around in the pocket. And by the way, I'll throw this at you too, Harry. When you're an offensive lineman, here, check it out. When you're an offensive lineman and you got a 7-step guy, you know where he is in the pocket at all times. When you got a guy that moves around all the time, you're like this and you don't know where he is in the pocket. The passing blocking schemes break down, man, when you don't know where he is. So those guys that move around all the time outside of the pocket, impossible to pass probe on. So, again, his offensive scheme, I agree, because that's what people see. The visual is that Sirianni's offense is crap and it doesn't fit the kid. It's true. But also the talent that's on the field, they building the team from the perimeter in. I said this to you guys a couple months ago. Devontae Smith must have been open. He must have been open 10 times last night. I mean, he was so open, but Jalen can't get him the football. What's the sense of drafting a kid that you can't get the football to, which means you're building from the perimeter in? Didn't we learn that lesson from Matt Millen, drafting all those wide receivers? They've got the O-line. I know they're banged up, but, man, I mean, it's just how about this? It's like a square peg in a round hole kind of thing in Philadelphia right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But here's the thing. It's like, you keep hearing, or you kept hearing through training camp, how they were winning practices against these other teams. And then they came out, like New England, they had a great week of practice and, Jalen Hurts looked great. And then the preseason game, they don't play the starters or they don't do anything. Well, they played 3 plays and you really don't see any type of offense. And it was all going to start with the Atlanta game. That's where we're going to unleash this whole offense. And it looked great against a lousy football team. Okay, where it looked like, man, the coach and the quarterback are on the same page. He's getting the ball out. Devontae Smith's making plays. He makes a great throw to Goddard in the end zone for a touchdown, moving to his right. I mean, everything looked great. After that, the offense has absolutely had zero identity, and it looks like what you just said. Like Jalen Hurts looks one way to his first read. If he can't see him or he's not open, he tucks the ball and runs. And that's not a viable offense, in the NFL. I don't care. Even with Lamar Jackson, some people point to Lamar Jackson. Okay, he's a special bird, number one. And number two,
a freak show.
He is a freak show, but we've all seen where it ends in the playoffs.
Right.
It doesn't work. So that's not a viable strategy going forward. Yet they chose to go with Jalen Hurts from week 1, knowing all these limitations. I have a question. Why would you do that when you do have a more traditional drop back passer on the roster? Granted, he's not great anymore either, but maybe that would have fit Sirianni's style more or better. No?
I say start Gardner Minshew, actually.
Okay, well, yeah,
okay, because to me, he's a traditional drop back guy, and to me, he's a guy without a question here that can really do it. By the way, Ertz, the Cardinals now, they've just dealt Zach Ertz to the Arizona Cardinals. Holy
Is that official?
Crap. Unbelievable. Xander just dropped that mad dog on us here too. So I mean, Schefter.
My buddy
then again, it's Adam Schefter, so I'm sure Steve Keim, the general manager, called him and told him, hey, by the way, man, if you want to report it right now, it's Zach Ertz to Arizona, so for a cornerback. So, yeah.
Wait a second. Has Bruce Allen approved of this trade? Did he get back to Adam Schefter and say, yeah, we're good?
Hold on for a second. I got to get the hard copy. Bruce, is it good? Thank you. Yes, the deal's official.
Well, I got to give my buddy Kevin Kincaid at Crossing Broad here in Philadelphia credit for that, because he tweeted that could happen this morning. He was hearing that could be done today. So he actually had that too. Probably at, maybe a second before Adam Schefter confirmed it with Bruce Allen.
How about this? Let me throw this at you too. What does that tell you a little bit? So you're getting rid of really great players. To me also too, it's also maybe last night that Howie Roseman goes like this. Okay, we need as many assets as we possibly can in the offseason because we're going to go after Deshaun Watson. Maybe you go after an Aaron Rodgers. Think about the guys who are going to be out there on the open market. Could it be Russell Wilson? That thing in Seattle is going nowhere.
Right.
Okay, and you see that the defense has deteriorated. So are you going to go with a veteran guy? And you bring him in when you've got some talented wide receivers. By the way, let me just say this to you too. That kid Rieger sucks. Get him off my roster. He is so bad last night.
Yeah.
How many times did he not go back to the ball to help his quarterback out? Yeah. He doesn't lay out for anything.
He doesn't fight for anything. He drops balls that are in his hands. He's got no fight to him. And I keep bringing it up each and every week. I do a pregame show prior to Eagles games too on the radio. And I keep comparing him to Jefferson each and every week. I pound it into everybody because I can't get the image out of my head of the Minnesota War Room high-fiving one another when they realized that the Eagles took Jalen Reagor instead of Justin Jefferson.
God, that kid last night, I kept saying, get that bum, Adam. The kid Watkins, man. Yeah. I am impressed with him. I like that kid. That kid to me, and isn't it something too, Harry? I mean, look at the Steelers. They never draft a guy in the first round. Mm-hmm. They get Antonio Brown in the 6th round. They find these other guys. Stop drafting guys in the first round at the wideout position. It's the most useless position on the planet. If you don't have a quarterback in your room, I don't care who you have out there. How many times have we seen guys that are – look at Odell Beckham. Mm-hmm. Odell Beckham is in Cleveland with a quarterback who can't get him the rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're better without him. The numbers pan out that they're better when he doesn't play.
They are better without him. So again, I mean, Harry, last night there were so many holes on the football team. By the way, too, the Buccaneers, held them to 213 total yards last night. Bucs had 400 yards in offense. Right. Didn't it look like at the beginning of the game, Brady sat back there like it was a 9-on-7.
7-on-7 or 9-on-7. Yeah, exactly.
I thought I'm sitting back here watching this thing going, will somebody pressure him, bring a blitz, do something here to be able to put – if you're going to let Brady sit back there, thank God Gronk didn't play. Right. Because that thing could have been even bigger of a mess.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, Jeff McClain of the Philly.com, Philadelphia Inquirer, described – Jonathan Gannon's defensive, setup in the backfield as he's had his cornerbacks backed up to I-95. And Tom Brady's just looking at this like, are you serious? I'm just going to pick this apart, and we're going to just sort of matriculate ourselves right down the football field.
So what do you think, Harry? Do you think you can't listen, in the draft, this kid Spencer Rattler, man, lost $50 million last week because of what happened, him getting yanked for that kid and then putting him in and them coming back and winning that game.
They look better with the backup.
Yeah, the backup comes in, wins the game for OU against Texas. That kid sitting on the pine, he lost $50 million. That's not the number one pick in the draft. If I'm looking at Philly and I'm looking at a QB, I'm like, man, I don't know. Maybe the kid from Cincinnati, he looks pretty good. He went into Notre Dame and won that game. That kid Dieter or Ritter, whatever his name is. I went like this. If I'm Philly, man, I go and I do everything I possibly can.
Get a veteran.
To get a veteran quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Sam Howell, I don't know that Sam Howell's the answer either. Everybody seems to love him. And, that quickly went by the boards there. What are they? 3? Are they 3-3? They faced the U this week.
Yeah. Florida State beat their ass last week.
Right.
I mean, Florida State is as bad as UM right now. I mean, there's nobody in the draft. So to me, Howie's got to look at it like this again. Now, remember something. The reason why that kid Reagor plays and the reason why Jalen is getting an opportunity is because Howie and his personnel guys have to be right. First round and second round guys are going to get more of an opportunity than late round guys because his ass is on the line. Look at the drafts over the last 3 years also for Philadelphia when you're talking about premium guys. Have they really been superstar type guys? I mean, no. When's the last time he drafted a Pro Bowler?
Good question. I mean, would it have been I'm trying to think. Would it be Lane Johnson? No, that wasn't him. Fletcher Cox. Who else? No. I can't name one.
Yeah, I can't think of. I mean, look, this kid Mulata's going to be a Pro Bowler.
Right. That's the irony of the whole situation is they strike gold in the 7th round with a guy like that who was developed.
Yeah, because they're taking best guy available.
Right. But yet in the first round, they take Andre Dillard. Now, I know he's playing out of necessity, and I'd love to get your take on how do you think he's playing because he's good against pass sort of speed guys because he's got great feet, but he doesn't have a whole lot of power. He's not good against power guys. So I don't know how long that could last at left tackle. He's only playing because Lane Johnson's out at right and they have to move Mailata. But then they find Mailata in the 7th round and develop him. They draft J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor in rounds 2 and 1 respectively. But then they strike gold with Quez Watkins, in the later rounds. It's like you're saying, best player on the board in the mid to late rounds, they take and they seem to work out. When they're at the top of the draft, they overthink themselves and try to be too cute.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
Well, know this. I mean, everyone's always like, well, look at what Belichick did. I mean, wow, he found Brady. Yeah, he passed on him 5 times. I mean, let's be candid here, okay? I mean, the Patriots passed on him 5 times before they got lucky because, get this, the Chargers, San Diego, told me that A.J. Smith, they were in the process of potentially drafting him, and they end up turning this thing into the greatest player in the history of the NFL. By the way, real quick here on this Ertz deal. So now you put Zach Ertz in that offense with DeAndre Hopkins. Look at what Steve Keim has done over the last 2 years. He goes out and he fleeces the Houston Texans and gets DeAndre Hopkins. No wonder Deshaun Watson was pissed, man. I mean, you take the best you signed Deshaun Watson to a $180 million contract, and you go, well, let me take away the modern day best third down receiver in the game, and they send him out to Arizona. Now you add, in my opinion, a guy who's still got a lot of gas in the tank.
Yeah.
I personally, watch this. Zach Ertz, I think, if he would have had a better quarterback, I think he'd be Zach Ertz. I mean, okay. I really do. I think he'd be Zach Ertz. And I think now him being in Arizona, you got a seam guy, which means running up the hash marks, and you got a guy that goes over the top, the best third down receiver. And they run the ball. They're the top running game next to Baltimore in the NFL. Boy, I'll tell you, man, they've got to be the top dog in that division. I think they're better than I think they're better than the Rams, man, because I think they're more versatile and they can get it on the other side with Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt.
And they got Kirk and Moore too as their third and fourth wide receivers. I mean, that's a really good group. What a room that is.
I think A.J. Green's on that team too, if I'm not mistaken. Too. Yeah. So I mean, that guy's even showing some leadership. And by the way, get this: they're actually a better team without the greatness of that receiver. Who was? It just slips my mind who they had.
Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're better without it. What would he be? The third guy? A.J. Green has really given them something now. So, I don't know. Give me your assessment. What do you think Ertz's stay was in Philadelphia? What was?
Yeah, it's a really good player. Really good player, good pass catcher, ran great routes, great teammate. Not a good guy to make plays, though, beyond the catch. He was always a guy that where he caught the ball, it seemed that's where the play ended. He was never a guy that was going to turn something, a 10-yard pass play into like a 40-yard game. That was always kind of the knock, and also his inability to really be an effective blocker. But a really big pass catcher. And in that offense, I agree with you. I mean, currently Arizona, I can't even name their tight ends. Darrell Daniels and Demetrius Harris. I mean, that could be you and me for all we know. So this is a big upgrade for them. I have no idea who this kid Tay Gowan is that they got in exchange, a cornerback.
If Howie made the pick, nor does he.
Okay. And they also got a 5th-round pick in the 2022 draft.
Any of them conditional?
It doesn't say in Schefter's tweet.
Okay.
Eagles are sending 3-time Pro Bowl tight end Zach Ertz to Arizona in exchange for cornerback Tay Gowan and a 2022 5th-round pick, sources tell ESPN.
Okay, so that's a massive upgrade for them, no question about it. But to me, it just looks like Howie's now loading up as many draft choices. Hey, and by the way, don't be shocked if you start to see – would you do this? If you see this thing's unraveling – who's the highest paid? You always go to this one, Harry.
Fletcher Cox.
Do you start doing this now if you're Howie Roseman and you're looking over at your owner here? This season, we may win 5 ball games here. The highest paid guy on our football team is a defensive tackle.
Right.
Okay?
Who doesn't make enough plays.
Still got some juice in him.
Yeah.
Do you make the tough cut or the tough trade like they did up in New England when they sent Richard Seymour
to Oakland,
to the Raiders so they got some draft choices? Do you make that tough call and go like this? Because Hardgrave is showing us this dude's an all-pro. He ain't just a Pro Bowler.
Right.
He's a guy that's going to be a stud for us for the next 6 years at least. Do you start going like this as you get closer to the trading deadline, or do you do this in the offseason, or do you do it now? Do you go like this? Hey, Fletcher Cox is on the market right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely be fielding phone calls. I mean, I don't know whether the value would be a bit better right now. You get a team with an injury that thinks they can make a run. They're going to want to plug that as best they can immediately. But I would definitely entertain the idea of moving on from him. Now, I don't know how good Hargrave will be without Fletcher next to him.
True. Absolutely.
That's obviously a conversation that could be had, but I would definitely move on from him because I think the best days of Fletcher Cox are behind him, and it's too inconsistent where you get games like he had a week or two ago where he was just in the backfield and causing all kinds of havoc. We don't see enough of that consistently from Fletcher Cox for the amount of money he makes, in my opinion.
That's correct. I mean, yeah. and you hit it on the nail on the head there with that too, because you always have to look at this. Okay, salary, because the general manager always are doing this here. Am I getting value for the play right now?
Right.
Am I is he giving me what he's worth here? Like, I'll tell you, somebody who's picked his game up to start to earn some of his paycheck has been Ezekiel Elliott over the last couple of weeks. Zeke's picked his game up,
yep.
And you're looking at that $13 million contract going like this. Not too bad, right? Not too bad. But at the other time, you're like, oh, my God, they're overpaying. But then they got Tony Pollard in the backfield. Tony Pollard's only making $850,000. So as a group, you're getting away with it. But now it's a value group now because Zeke is starting to play a lot better. When you're looking at a guy like Fletcher Cox, dude, you can't do this. Well, he sucks now. And then try to move him for a 6th-rounder.
Right.
You got to move the guy now. And get this. This is, I sometimes in the NFL, it's unlike, you got to think a little bit like your college football team. Who cares what the kids are, because it's a movable chain each and every single year because the kids graduate.
Mm-hmm.
When you're rooting for the Eagles, the names on the back of the jerseys, they don't mean anything, man. It's about winning ball games. That's why in New England, I always thought, Harry, the secret sauce was this guy's not paying Darrelle Revis.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's not going to pay Stephon Gilmore. This guy's not going to pay Richard Seymour. He's not going to pay Teddy Bruschi.
Hell, they didn't even pay the quarterback. He took less than what he could have.
The quarterback never was. Hey, can you imagine that? Tom Brady in his career has never been the highest paid quarterback in the league at any time in his entire career.
Right.
He made $25 million his last year in New England. New England. Get this. Guess who made more money than him? Ryan Tannehill.
Right. Well, the secret is find a quarterback that has married to a supermodel wife who makes hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hey, man, or a singer up in Seattle, and I think that could be our guy.
That's true.
Okay.
You think Russell Wilson could be the guy?
I think Russell Wilson here. I think these quarterbacks are going to be on the open market this coming. I think Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
I think Russell Wilson. Those two players are going to be on the open market for somebody to go after and get.
Right.
And to me,
Garoppolo,
I'll tell you,
for what he's worth.
Which one would you want?
Out of Russell or Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
Boy.
Age is a factor here with Rodgers.
It is.
But in today's NFL, Harry, these guys don't get hit and they can play into their 40s. Brady's an outlier.
He gets rid of the ball quickly. He doesn't take a lot of pops.
Doesn't take a lot of hits. Then again, Wilson doesn't take a lot of hits. Even though he's been one of the most sacked guys,
right? He
still doesn't take a big hit.
Man, I'd take either one. I don't care. Just give me one of them. Really. Now, what about Deshaun Watson, though? I mean, is he ever going to get cleared of this stuff or pay a penalty and then get beyond it?
Here, let me throw this at you here. Okay, so I don't know about you or me or anybody that's in over here in our chats and this and that, but I'm going to throw this at you here. If somebody came to the police and said, I had 24 sexual assault cases pending against me,
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't only be in jail, I'd be under the jail.
Right.
Okay, he's on an NFL sideline. He's getting paid. He's not on the NFL's exempt list.
Not yet, yeah.
What is going on? You're paying the kid. And he's standing there sucking on ice on the sidelines.
Right.
I'm like, okay, either he's suspended or he's not suspended. What's the deal here with this guy? And I would say this, if you're the Eagles, if you're the Washington team, Dak Prescott is the king of the division now. Mm-hmm. You have got to find a guy. As of right now, the Cowboys will own the NFC East for the next 10 years. You've got to compete in that division right now with that guy, and you've got to compete with Dak, and you've got to go out and find yourself a stud. Look, as much as we like Jalen, hard guy, great. Watch this, hard fighter. Really, everybody likes him.
Yeah.
He's really a team leader. Get this. Nothing talked about what I just said about being a good quarterback.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers he's an a-hole.
Right.
Everyone hates him.
Goofy guy.
He doesn't get along with anybody. Well,
right.
I'll take him.
Yeah, right. Mr. Russell Wilson's a little goofy too. That whole Mr. Unlimited thing. I mean, he's a little out there too. But I'll take him in a second.
Man. Absolutely. Can you believe they actually went to Wyoming? They met at the Bartolo's place, and Seattle and the Bears actually had a conversation about making a deal. And at the very last moment, Pete Carroll pulled the trigger on and said, "Nah, we're not doing this right now." So, I mean, there was actually conversation about him going to Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, going to Chicago. And so that thing got put on ice a little bit. But if I'm Russell Wilson, man, I look around the room and I go, okay, man, I mean, really, what do they have here for me? They're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's 70. Pete Carroll's 70 years old. Paul Allen's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since he's got control of the team, Carroll, they've really not gone in a good direction. But to me, Deshaun Watson's the guy. Listen, if Philadelphia could take Michael Vick in, okay, you could take Deshaun Watson in.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I mean, Jeffrey Lurie loves the second chance thing. He likes, sort of making social statements. I don't know if he's prepared for this one yet, though. This is a little bit different. And don't forget about Miami too. They're in the mix for one of these guys.
And Carolina too is also in the conversation. And I would think Denver would be in the conversation. But here. But that goes to the point that I just made a couple minutes ago. Dak Prescott's in the NFC East, and the Washington team and the Eagles have to find a guy to beat that dude. Look at in the AFC East. Okay, the Miami Dolphins are looking at their guy Tua Tagovailoa, and I don't believe he's a guy. I think he's a bust. And hey, how about the Dolphins, man? The guy that they picked, and the guy that was picked behind Tua is Justin Herbert.
Right.
I mean, they're watching that thing and they're going, "Oh my God." But the guy in the division is Josh Allen.
Right.
Josh Allen's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says.
And he's in a perfect place, too, for his skill set.
Perfect place. Oh, my God, Sean McDermott has done such a great job with that guy. And the Dolphins and Chris Greer, the GM, and Brian Flores are going like this. Okay, listen, we got to compete with that guy. Tua's not the dude.
Right.
That's why the Deshaun Watson kicking that thing down the can has been something that they've done all year. And I'll tell you something, too, that's come back to bite the Dolphins, and it hasn't really come back to bite any other team because they haven't made it so apparent that they want Watson. Remember, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, a couple weeks ago goes like this, "I don't care what it takes. I want to get Deshaun Watson in here." And all of a sudden, now you've got a little bit of discord inside the locker room. Miami looks like it's on training wheels right now, where last year, the last 2 years, it looked like they were heading in the right direction.
I thought they were making, that next step kind of a team where they'd compete for a wild card.
How about this, too? Think about this, Harry. I mean, I guess Ryan Fitzpatrick was more important to that Dolphin success last year than what they wanted to give credit to, because when that guy was on that football team, like you said, they were trending up. And
don't forget about the Washington football team. They're going to be another team that's going to be in the market for a quarterback. They don't have the draft capital that the Eagles have. That's what puts the Eagles in such a rare situation is, will they end up with 3 picks in the first round? Will those 3 picks be in the top 10? And they very well could be. And that, I don't know that anybody can compete with that. If you're Houston, don't you have to take that deal if it's offered to you?
Absolutely. Right now, especially with the pending stuff. Hang on for a second. Hey, Dan, the Washington team is calling you to go play. Daniel Slander? Ooh.
Yeah. All right,
they're a good organization, man. I'll tell you what. Hey, by the way, I like the cheerleader calendar.
Yeah, right. How about that? Oh, my God. What a disaster. I got so much more to talk with you about in the second half hour. We're going till noon today, so everybody can duck out and try to find Nick Sirianni's press conference when he talks to the media for the day after. We're doing that as a public service to all Philadelphia sports fans.
Hey, I hear it's on the Food Channel.
Is that right? The Food Network? All right, back with more right here on The Middle, a special edition of The Middle with Dan Sileo and Harry Mayes.